Hold. Ready. Good. Drill. Hold. Forward. Mark. Left. 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 Right. 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 Left. Color. Halt. Color. Halt. Left. Left. Right. 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 Left. Color. Halt. Freeze it. Color.
Salute. Pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shoulder. Up. Ready. Good. Drill. Up. Color. Up. Left. Left. Right. 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 Left. Color. Up. Forward. Mark. Left. 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 Right. 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 Left. 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 Right.
At this time, I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Major General Curtis Buzzard, Fort Benning.
All right, well, thank you. Hopefully, can you hear me in the back? Yeah. Okay, good. Well, it's great to be here. Obviously, great people in the room as we went around for the introductions. Just really impressed with who's here today, and you feel like you're with family, just from getting to meet many of you. And I've met many of you before. I've only been in command since last July, but just having a great experience here. So this will be a first for me where I'm operating a computer and trying to play a video at the same time. So I might, this has got a recipe for disaster probably. But I got two short clips I'd like to show you as I give some remarks here. But again, thanks for the invite. Councilman Day, really appreciate the invite for coming here, allowing me to speak to you all. You know, I was in Auburn last week to meet with the family of Lieutenant General Hal and Julie Moore, who we're going to name the post after, and I'll talk on that later. But again, I was over at Auburn, and from what I understand, I have about a 50-50 shot of everybody being happy with that. I know I'm waiting for Mayor Lowe to like pull off this linebacker on me here because I was over at Auburn. But it's really good to be here on this side of the river to spend some time with you all today, especially our elected officials. I understand that Phoenix City District Attorney Rick Chansey is our most recent electee. Congratulations to Rick and all the elected officials in the room. We give them all a round of applause. I tell you, what a great junior ROTC color guard. I'm sure they're not here. I don't know if they're. I think they're outside, but it's just great seeing the young men and women getting involved and understanding what the military's about. So I'd like to begin by giving a short update on Fort Benning. For those of you who may not be familiar with exactly what we do over there, so I'm gonna sign up right now. I was talking to some veterans, our two photographers walking around here, former retired sergeants first class, and they came up to me saying, how do we get back in the Army? Which is awesome. They might need a couple waivers, but we'll take care of that. But, yeah, but we really do take seriously this responsibility we have, and I'd make sure you all know it's an open invite to ever come out and see any training that's going on Fort Benning. You know, my favorite thing to do is go out, usually it's a Thursday or Friday morning about 7 a.m. when the bus is dropping off brand new privates. And they're showing up and they do this formative training event, either called the first 100 yards if you're going infantry, or the Thunder Run if you're going Army. But they got to, as a team, accomplish a bunch of tasks, and the drill sergeants are doing it with them, inspiring them, demonstrating what right looks like. But I go to that the first day, and then you go over to either the National Infantry Museum or Brave Rifle Field, and you watch a graduation. It's neat the same day. So you're seeing one young man or woman's first day, and one young man or woman's last day, their 22-week completion of basic training. And I'm telling you, you can feel the pride in the air of these young people and their families in the crowd. So if you're feeling down and you want to go get some energy, you go to one of those graduation ceremonies. Again, I'd love to be there with you because it just inspires you, you know, just how great our country is and the young men and women that choose to serve. So just a couple characteristics or statistics about what goes on at Fort Benning. So 35 to 40% of all new soldiers in the Army, all of them, come through Fort Benning. All new infantry and armor soldiers, as well as all leaders, so that's second lieutenants, as well as our captains and our company commanders in charge of about 140, all come there to train. Includes every soldier trained to jump out of airplanes, to be a paratrooper, comes to airborne school there. Every year, 14,000 parachutists begin their journey in the skies over Alabama, actually, where Friar Drop Zone is. And the most high-risk training in the Army is conducted at Fort Benning. And so 3,500 new Ranger School graduates graduate. 64,000 soldiers, again, train there annually. And I was guest speaker at one of our recent Ranger graduations. And of all things, we had a Ukrainian graduate. And he was going to be back in combat within 2 weeks of having graduated. But he chose to come to this incredibly challenging and formative school and then to go back and fight for his country. And I mean, standing ovation. I mean, it was hard to not get emotional about what there's nobody there to pin on his Ranger tab, and I got to do it, which I thought was an honor. Nobody there to take pictures, nobody there. He was focused. He had a mission. He needed to get back to his soldiers and share with them the great training that he got at Fort Benning. Over 50 million rounds of ammunition are shot there. In fact, we fire more 5.56, which is small arms ammunition, and more tank rounds than any other unit in the Army. We also train more foreign soldiers, more multinational soldiers than anywhere in DoD. Over 105 nations send their folks to come train with us. And that brings, again, rich diversity and a whole bunch of people into the Chattahoochee Valley community. From a financial perspective, you know, we bring over $4 billion of economic impact to the bi-state area. 70% of the population lives off post. You may not realize that. So I really appreciated all of our elected officials in both Alabama and Georgia reinforcing what's known as our basic allowance for housing for our soldiers had not gone up since around 2014, and it jumped up about 15% this year. So that's more money that everybody off post has to pay for to rent houses or pay for houses or just quality of life in general. 35% of retirees and 40% of all veterans in the area live in the state of Alabama. And I expect that number will increase exponentially in the coming years with the work the Military Stability Commission has done and the bills that Governor Ivey has signed into law last year, particularly that our retirement pay is completely tax-free in Alabama. That's not the case everywhere else. So thank you for doing that. And Alabama is a clear standard bearer, again, for supporting our military and veteran communities. That said, I do encourage your local Chamber of Commerce and other business-related associations really to seek closer ties with us at Fort Benning for our Soldier for Life program and our Transition Assistance program. We run a program, very deliberate program, when folks are leaving the Army, whether retiring or just separating, to prepare them for civilian employment. We have some of the colleges have representation at our Soldier for Life Center. There's some businesses there. But I can tell you, I think we're missing some opportunities. When I was out at Joint Base Lewis McChord in the state of Washington, Microsoft was on base. You know, they actually had an education program to train folks, and they were really we're really kind of poaching a lot of our talent to come to industry. So there's tremendously qualified people leaving the Army that aren't just good at shooting their weapons, but have had real great leadership experience, that have great values, that are exactly the type of people, are hard workers, are loyal. They're exactly the type of people that you want in our businesses here in Alabama. And again, a steady stream of highly talented and highly educated soldiers retiring from the Army every year. As mentioned, 70% of the population lives off post, so that's almost 4,000 military children attend public schools in both Alabama and Georgia. So again, that's very important to us. And our community partnership, we're very proud of it. It's called Partners in Education, or PI, and we're really looking to expand that, particularly in some high schools we haven't been represented, and I'll touch on a little bit later about some of the recruiting challenges we're facing, just to reconnect with youth and with families. This program matches local schools with units on post. So our brigades and battalions are then partnered with a school that can send out drill sergeants or some of our NCOs. And I mean, I was up in Atlanta, and it's just great how supportive the South is of the military. The superintendents around Atlanta, everybody wanted more military in their school. They felt like the discipline reverberates throughout the school when you've got people walking around in uniform. And Atlanta is a big focus for us. It's one of the top 5 cities in the country that we recruit from. And so there's a very deliberate effort for us to also expand our influence up into the Atlanta region. But this helps improve levels of academic achievement, boost self-esteem, increase understanding of the military. And these partnerships create opportunities, again, to engage with young people, provide mentorship and successful role models, and increase motivation to ensure success in their academics, attendance, character, and really to achieve personal goals. I know many in this room that are veterans in particular can appreciate what they feel like the military has done with them. But we currently have 41 PI partnerships for this school year, 22-23, and several are in Russell and Lee counties. Specifically in the state of Alabama, we have several important initiatives, and our military family liaison, Jennifer Holliday, oversees. That's the Alabama Heroes Welcome, which is designed to increase awareness and connect our military spouses of available and connect families moving into the state so they better understand what both Georgia and Alabama, particularly what Alabama offers. And the Purple Star Schools Initiative, which is state-level recognition for public K-12 schools committed to successful transitioning of military students and their families. And the Alabama Military Spouse Network, which is a statewide virtual military spouse advocacy network that provides 24/7 peer mentorship and information on schools, districts, and local events. One area where I could use your support is recruiting and sessions. Many of you are aware that the Army, really all of DoD, Department of Defense, but the Army in particular, missed our mark last year by about 12 to 15,000 new recruits, which is fairly significant. When you look at the demographics of 18 to 25-year-olds, only 23% are eligible to come into the Army. That's astounding. That's not just an Army issue, that's a national security issue. This is because of academics, this is because of physical fitness, obesity, criminal, past, health, variety of things. And of that 23%, only 10% have a propensity to serve. Only 10% have, recognized the value, know somebody that served, even are thinking about serving, and that's a problem. So, our recruiting command and the Army in general, General McConville, the Chief of Staff, the senior, Army officer for the Army 4-star, McConville, were here. He would, he normally military crowds, he goes, "Who's a recruiter?" And most people aren't, they don't raise their hand. He goes, "You better raise your hand. Everybody's a recruiter." So, it's something at Fort Benning, our main job is training and leader development. We are out and about and trying to communicate to young people, but also to parents, to make sure there's some misperceptions about the Army. Sometimes what you hear on the news isn't always true, and it get a little frustrating. But we've again, there's just a whole lot to offer. And so the military started a couple initiatives. One of them at Fort Jackson in South Carolina is called the Future Soldier Prep Course. So we recognize a lot of the young people, both academic and physical fitness challenges, some of this is COVID related. post-COVID. They were at home by themselves largely. We all, I think, recognize virtual learning is not the same as being in the classroom. Some anxiety with test taking, some other things. So we're running a course there. It's anywhere from 3 weeks to 90 days that is physical fitness and academic focused. And what we're finding is some incredibly motivated young people that really want to serve, and they just need a little bit of help. And we're seeing, so it's basically like a prep school before you come in the Army. 95% success rate, and what we're then finding is these young men and women are performing better in basic training than their peers because they've gotten exposed to a little bit of the Army. So we've been asked, we've now stood up just the academic side of it, of that look at physical fitness and academics, and we're doing that now on Fort Benning. We got our first 50, we're going to ramp up to several hundred and probably 1,000 there. And again, I'm seeing these kids' scores jump tremendously academically, just spending a little bit of time in the classroom with some mentorship. So again, just an important initiative that we're doing. But I just ask you all to help reinforce all the benefits, and particularly our veterans in the crowd, a call to action and a call to service to help describe your experiences, a sense of purpose, the benefits that you get. There's bonuses, there's all these other things, but I tell you, for somebody to serve for 30 years and never thought I'd be in after 5 years, it's about the people and the mission. And it's just you get to serve with some great people with great values. So I could use your help as you think about opportunities, events, ideas that could help us, make sure that we're reconnecting the best we can, because I really do believe, public service, whether it's elected official, our police, our security act, everybody, it's important. It's important for people to think about, young people to think about. And we want to make sure they know everything they can about that. So, the challenge is it's become a family business. You look at our, I think 85% of people that come in the Army know somebody in the Army. I look at my family. I served, my wife was an officer, her brother she was in the Army, she was a nurse. Her brother was in the Army, her sister was in the Army, her dad was in the Army, my 3 kids, my daughter married an Army officer, my other 2 were traders who went to the Naval Academy. They're in the Navy. I'm still proud of them, but I planted them in deep cover at our arch rival to collect intelligence on the Navy. But all kidding aside, it can't just be a family business. We got to reconnect with the community. So, as part of that, I'd like to share with you just a couple opportunities we have coming up where I'd love to see you at any of these events. We've got a big week coming up in April, our Infantry Week, where we do a Meet Your Army. There'll be a variety, but I'll make sure to get it out. Councilman Day and some others, I'll make sure we follow up with some things that you can push out over email. But that includes a best sniper competition, the Lacerda Cup Combatives competition, which we're going to hold downtown in Columbus at the Ironworks. And then hopefully many of you have heard the Best Ranger competition, which is really the premier tough competition that the Army has. A 3-day, grueling, and for the first time ever, entirety of day 2 will be in Columbus, in downtown Columbus. We're going to do something near the Civic Center. All the events will be outside, and then they're going to have to do a bunch of stuff down through the city, cross over into Alabama on a zip line. I can't give away all the events. There may be some spies in here that are getting information out to the teams, but it's a really hard formative event, and we think it's important as we look to reconnect with the community to do it downtown. And then again, I mentioned the Lacerda Cup Championships will be downtown also. And then in the end of April into May is what we call the Gainey Cup, which is our best cavalry squad in the Army, and there'll be a big live fire demonstration at one of our ranges where we'll make sure to get that out to you also. And though the exact date hasn't been given yet, we are, as I mentioned earlier, I was over at the Moore family. Who's familiar with General Hal Moore and his wife Julie? Okay, so some of you all know a little bit about him, but General Moore, it's kind of a funny story with 2 kids that went to the Naval Academy. General Moore originally got appointed to the Naval Academy, didn't want to go, and traded spots to go to West Point to be in the Army. And is a graduate and served, distinguished Army career, a tremendous warrior. If you haven't seen the movie, there's a book, We Were Soldiers, Once and Young, he wrote with Joe Galloway. that was made into a movie, and it's about his battalion leading him into the Ia Drang Valley in Vietnam, an incredibly challenging battle, and just was an absolute warrior. And while on the home front, his wife saw that casualty notification at that point was largely a taxi showed up with a telegram, and she was horrified by that. And I remember hearing the story. I got to spend time with their children, and were describing how their mom saw on TV. There was a mom or a wife getting interviewed who'd lost her husband. This was during the Vietnam War, and she goes, "Oh my God, he's in my husband's unit." And I didn't know about this, and I wasn't there to help comfort her. So she started the initiative we have where when the casualty notification occurs, how it's done with the chaplain and spouses and a comfort team and just, really cared for people. And so he's a hero. If you haven't, I was over at the Moore House and I went back and watched the movie again. Much of it was filmed on Fort Benning. But what the family would tell you, even if you've read the book and seen the movie, is they would not want General Moore and Julie Moore to be known just for that battle and that particular incident. They were people of tremendous character. I mean, his soldiers loved him, of all backgrounds. He was so ahead of his time as a 2-star general. He initiated, this is in the early 70s, an equal opportunity policy, which wasn't yet something that the Army did or mandated, and he said either informally or formally, no one will be discriminated for race, color, religion, gender, and he fired a bunch of people because they weren't following his guidance. And he cared for people, just tremendous character, both of them. And so we are so honored that we're going to rename the post. It's going to be in May. I can't give the official date yet because we're waiting for clearance. I got to brief my boss and make sure everything's lined up. It'll be a huge deal. I'm excited about it because I think I got to meet General Moore back in '97 when I was on Fort Benning and signed my copy of the book. We were soldiers once and young, but not only will we have somebody to really honor, but we'll also have a husband and a spouse that epitomize service, commitment, and family that hopefully, I think, will inspire a lot of people too. So again, we are so excited about renaming it Fort Moore. And with that, if I don't screw this up here, I'm going to show you a little.
Yeah, General Moore was a great leader. He was right there on the ground with us.
But she saw other people whose husbands were killed, and she knew her job was to take care of families.
I knew we'd prevail. I knew we were going to in for a hell of a fight, but never once did it cross my mind that we'd go down. Not one time.
If you're a widow, you've got so much on your plate because of what she did. I don't have to worry about that. That's a huge blessing.
You knew he was in command, and you knew he knew what was going on. He just was a soldier's soldier, and you just felt comfortable around him.
They are the married relationship that any married couple wants. It was defined by a deep, committed love. When you step back, it's a love story. It's a love story about their love and commitment to soldiering and the nation.
So I also hope to see many of you in March 31st, our annual State of Fort Benning event will be at the National Infantry Museum. And as we do each year, I'll update the local community on great things that are happening on Fort Benning, but there are a few other details I want to share with you now. We're leading an effort to establish the Army of the future. Our Chief of Staff of the Army has a goal of Army 2030. And we've got to make sure we produce that. If you're watching the news and you're seeing what's going on in the Ukraine, I was just over in Europe at our headquarters that's doing all the advising and delivering all the things that our president is providing for the Ukrainians, or that our country's providing, that he's authorizing. But there's we're a miscalculation away from being in combat. over there. Something could happen, I don't think, Putin's of rational mind entirely, and God forbid something happens to one of our NATO allies, Article 5 would be, called into action, and we would be there fighting right with our NATO allies. So I gotta make sure that every young man and woman that leaves Fort Benning is ready. And we're training in the type of environment and the type of threats that should this happen, they'd be able to show up and contribute right away. So we call that, we're transitioning from our approach on counterinsurgency, which we were doing the last 20 years, to one optimized for what we call large-scale combat operations. That's what we're seeing over there. And it's horrifying when you look at the casualty numbers. The Russians in the first week of this conflict lost more people, more killed in action, than our 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. And it's an incredibly lethal battlefield. The artillery barrages, the horror. I could show with you a good friend of mine, there's some partnering not with the U.S., but others that are in country in the Ukraine that share some photos. And there's like 3 photos I have of the Ukrainian fight, and right below it we put 3 pictures from World War I. You can't tell the difference. The nature of war, the brutal contest of wills is still there. So we've got a big role in making sure we're prepared for that. We're also working a lot on robotics, and so I think with our schools and technology, I know there's a lot of focus in the region on the CHIPS Act and trying to lure some business and other things down here. Fort Benning will most likely become a hub for both air and ground robotics. We're already working a bunch of these initiatives, but for our Army in the near future, and so just another tremendous important part of our portfolio. So again, our Army's in transition, headed full speed into the future. It's a great time. I'm really honored to be the commanding general at Fort Benning, and grateful to be part of this community. And everything we do is possible only through tremendous support of the local community. And I've been at a whole lot of Army posts. And I hate to say this because I've got 13 years at Fort Bragg up in the 82nd, but the partnership between the whole Chattahoochee Valley, Columbus, Phoenix City, all the counties around here with Fort Benning is like nothing else out in the Army, I can tell you that. And we really value that. So thank you again for an opportunity to join us here today. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. I'll be sure to get you the invite when we rename that post. You can get emotional watching that short video, but we are blessed to have a great, 2 people to be naming to transition Fort Benning to Fort Moore after here coming up in May. So again, thanks for the opportunity to be here today, and look forward to working with you all in the future.
Again, I will be very brief. Someone already told me, said make it short, but I want to be out of here at least 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. So I will be very brief with my remarks. Somebody asked me what the purpose of this local elected fellowship luncheon. Let me share some with all of us. The purpose of this local elected fellowship luncheon is to improve the relationship between the state, county, and city government. And I said to all of us, we are elected to serve. And the system that we serve, we must first get along with each other and what we think and how we hung ourselves among each other. We can be effective serving our citizenship in this region, shall I say. And first, let me back up and say something about the general. The general, I met him on them occasion. Always mispronounce his name, but he did a fantastic job. Now, I'm going to back up just a little bit. I had the opportunity to be on the mailing list at Fort Benning. I had met numerous of gentlemen in the past that had them speak. We started this, I can't say it now, we started this about 6 years ago. I told the General McMaster, I said, look here, I said, you have soldiers in Fort Mitchell, you have soldiers in your station, you have soldiers in Benning City. And that's why we were to cross the river to Fort Benning and got the general of Fort Benning, the commanding general involved in our luncheon. And I think this is very important. Now, General Buzzy gave us a lot of information that I didn't know. I'm sure some of you all didn't know. And Fort Benning is on the move. We're blessed to live so close to a post such as Fort Benning. Now, fast forward, let me say this back to what I was saying. This lunch is very important to all of us, especially if we're elected officials. We're not in a position to serve, to be served. We are serving. That's what we got to do. Now, I cannot say this enough. We must work together. We are more effective if we work together as a team. and we sit down and have a conversation with each other. And no doubt it's different, but we can always iron out these different. This is what we got to do. We must do this. And I like to say this, I'm going to cut my remarks short, but I promised the person that we're going to be out here at least about 1 o'clock. I like to say this, there's a few people who said, make sure you tell them that I was at a prior engagement. That was State Representative Chris Blackshear. Arthur Summer Corner, he hosts here for the state of Alabama here. Randy Price, Senator Randy Price, and Mike Rogers, Representative Billy Beasley, Scott Chambers, Commissioner, Skip Henderson, son, representing him from Columbus. We're glad to have Mr. Allen here. But I can say this, I'm sure each one of us got something out of this luncheon. I'm sure we have. If you haven't, then what you keep coming and keep meeting folks. And I say to one of my constituents a few minutes ago, Mr. Day, what is this about? I said, this luncheon here about fellowship. There would be no issue discussed at this luncheon. No one would be able to stand and talk about any issue at this time. Nobody. I said, now after the luncheon, they can talk about anything they want to talk about, but they won't be discussing any issue at this particular luncheon. And I want you to know that I'm very proud that so many showed up and came out, and I hope you enjoy it. Now, I must say this. I must thank you to Ram Hotel who took the tab today for our luncheon. I want to thank them. Also, A&B Catering Service, I want to thank them for the food. I gotta say this. There's two young ladies that I like for them to stand because they done most of the work here. Miss Davis and Miss Williams. I was at the clerk office. Would you please stand and stand? Those two ladies, I work with those two ladies. I work with them, those two ladies up there. But they're so honored. They did a fantastic job. Now, before I take my seat, I would like my good friend to have just a few words to say. He is the president of our Alabama League of Municipalities. We went to train together in Montgomery, but I'd like for him to stay and have just a few words to say. The mayor of Tuskegee. Mayor Haywood.
Thank you, Councilman Day. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's my pleasure to come and just briefly say a word to you on behalf of the Alabama League of Municipalities. That's over 460 cities in the state of Alabama. It's an honor for me to be here with you, all these leaders in this room. As Mayor Lowe has said earlier, you're here to serve. So Mayor Lowe, I'm glad to be here in your city. Thank you, Councilman Day, Councilman Vicky Carter. And I want to say a special thanks to General Buzzard. Let's give him a round of applause. Let's stand and give him a round of applause. I think that's so critically important because when you look at it, it's easy for us to get comfortable here. And you're in the military community, so you feel safe here. But we forget about all over this country, we're able to do what we do every day because of what the military is doing. And those of you who have served what you did in the past, it's easy to forget. We can go to the basketball game. I went to the basketball playoffs yesterday. Unfortunately, as I was talking to Reverend, we lost by 1 point. We had the game, we lost by 1 point. But I was able to go to Montgomery, rush from Montgomery, go back to Tuskegee, go back to Montgomery, and go back to Tuskegee where I met with the members of the Department of Defense. Undersecretary Cisneros was there yesterday. 20 people from the Department of Defense working with Tuskegee, Alabama State, and so many other institutions and college presidents. It's a major thing for us to recognize what our military does for us and how they connect with us and appreciate what they do because they give us an environment where we can be here today, have lunch, and be safe. But I want to thank each and every one of you for how you serve. As president of the League of Municipalities, I always remind our mayors, it's a tough job to serve. People see us in the public, but they don't understand the headaches that you go through, the challenges you have to face in order to serve. But because you're willing to do it, you make our communities better. We try to improve the quality of life of all our citizens. So particularly, thank you, Councilman Day, for bringing this together. It's great when you bring people together. Wherever we stand, what issues we are different on, how we come together, we're all citizens, first of all, in the state of Alabama and the United States of America, and the more that we're together, the stronger we can be. When you think about it, we sit here today, our president was able to go into a hostile territory in the middle of a war and go right to the city that had been bombed. Why? Because of our military, the strength of our military. We thank you. Because you can't say enough about that. The president is not afraid to go and stand there because he knew how strong our military was. So that's how we stand together here. So anything we can do for you at the Alabama League of Municipalities, I appreciate our legislators, Representative Gray and Ford and so many others that we meet with. We'll meet with them next month to talk about the things that we need out of the legislature for our cities. And I just want to, again, express my appreciation for this opportunity. I came a few years ago, couldn't come when COVID came in, and then the last time I couldn't come because I had some obligations. Just glad to be here. Anything that we can do, we look forward to it. I'll say I'm particularly proud to be from Tuskegee, not only because of our history, but because of the legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen. Anytime you come, please come and visit Tuskegee Airmen's Museum. It's a treasure, and it's a treat that you'll see and understand what happened back then to help us to get to where we are today. Shouts out to Mayor Pro Tem for Columbus. We connect our way from Alabama to Georgia. We're growing together. We just got our first industry in the city of Tuskegee, in our city. It's going to eventually bring between 170 and 300 jobs. The reason that's important because, as you said, Mayor Lowe, the region is growing. The area is growing. It's the South Korean industry. So we're all getting strong in this area. So we all want to reach out to each other, connect, and let's keep going forward. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the opportunity to have me to come. On behalf of the Alabama League of Municipalities and our director, Greg Cochran, we thank you. We here to serve.
I received a text right before coming in today from a friend that says your diet is not only what you eat, it is what you watch, what you listen to, what you read, and the people you hang around. So pay attention to what you feed your soul, not just your stomach. With that in mind, I'm privileged to have the opportunity now to ask that you would go with me and sing along with me because we know that God is still good and God is great. Amen. So at the end, the only thing you have to do is just sing amen. God is great and God is good. Let us thank him for our food. By his hand we are fed. Thank you, Lord, for our daily bread. Thank you, Lord, for our daily bread. And all together, amen.
Now, I'm going to share this with you all, and then we're going to move right along. As I was, on yesterday, as I was coming out Highway 80 there, I saw a state trooper had pulled over somebody. And I thought about this, what happened to my wife, Arthur. When he moved down from Detroit, he retired and everything, he bought him a house down there in Fort Mitchell, Alabama. So he bought him a house down there, and then he had bought him a new car. That Saturday afternoon, he was coming up the 165 there, had his grandkids in the back seat. And grandkids said, Papa, there's a Christmas light behind us, because it was in December. He was just relaxing, carrying on. He got all up there about, right there by Bethel AME. So the state trooper pulled to the side and pulled him over, told him to pull over. Once he pulled over, he said, where are you going so fast with your grandkids in here? Nice cars, nice Saturday afternoon, you got to be careful. And you're speeding. He said, officer, I was not speeding. See that sign back there? It says 165. The state trooper said, I'm so glad we stopped till we got to 431.
Good morning. I told the mayor to clap louder, and he said, what? Ain't no way.
I didn't understand.
What I need everyone to do now is stand up. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you for having everyone here. It's a great opportunity for us to sit around, talk, and kind of get to know each other a little bit. It's a great opportunity for us to do away with Arthur said he didn't want anyone talking business or anything like that. He just wanted us to come and enjoy fellowship with each other, and this is a great opportunity for that. I'm glad that the guys from Fort Benning are here, the general, and they'll keep us all straight. They'll keep us all nice and safe and keep us from doing everything. But the people from Columbus and Tuskegee and Phoenix City and Russell County, it's great for us to be able to come together and do this in Smith Station. see Bubba, I forgot to say Smith Station, but Arthur, thank you for having us here, and we appreciate being here on behalf of everybody at the Russell County Commission and all the elected officials of Russell County. Thank you for having us.
Good morning. Good morning. And to everyone that I have not seen this year, even though it's February the 23rd, I think I'm still within the realms to say Happy New Year's to the ones that I haven't seen this year, because it's still the beginning of the new year. But I'm just so grateful and thankful to have this opportunity to greet you all. We're from different parts of our region. We have different municipalities here, the commission here, but the thing that makes us all together is the common denominator. Even if we're not in the public service arena, the common denominator is that we can all serve, and that we should always put others before we do ourselves. And this is why Mr. Dave wants to have this event where we can fellowship, because as you have heard me say before, the older we get, the more important it is to fellowship, because we don't have the time on our side as we once did. So with that, I do bring you greeting on behalf of Phoenix City, Alabama, and we do want to thank you all for being a part of this occasion, because again, it gives us an opportunity to fellowship with each other and not even talk about or discuss anything that we may think is important. Because right now, right here at this time, the most important thing we can do is to fellowship with each other. And we're so grateful for that. So thank you all so much, and may God continue to bless us as a region, and bless us individually, and bless our families. Thank you so much.